For years, Jolly Joseph, a native of Kerala, India, would talk to her neighbors about how her family home was cursed. Her mother-in-law had apparently died from a mysterious illness, whilst at least three of her close relatives had suffered fatal heart attacks, and a mere 2-year-old niece had choked to death on a piece of food. However, soon Indian police presented a different theory. There was no mention of curses. Instead, they alleged Jolly Joseph had poisoned each of her family members, one by one, and then covered up her crimes with lies that have only now started to unravel. Has justice been served? Let's find out. Her full name is Jolly Amma, but people call her Jolly for short. She lived in a pastel pink 3-story house in Kurathai, a small town of just 12,000 in the Kozhikode district of Kerala state in southern India. The 47-year-old mother of two seemed every bit the upstanding citizen. Every day she left home telling people she was going to her job as a professor at the prestigious National Institute of Technology Calicut University about half-hour away. She wore a neat sari and in her spare time regularly went to church and helped her neighbors when they were sick. Jolly seems like a perfect woman to us, said 30-year-old Saidu NK, who lived next door to Joseph. It was 1997 and Joseph had just married Roy Thomas, the unemployed son of a popular local couple. She had moved into the Thomases' family home, a spacious property with an iron fence that stood out from the tangle of lush jungle around Kurathai. The couple had been married for 5 years when tragedy struck. In 2002, Roy Thomas's 57-year-old mother Annama Thomas died in circumstances that weren't explained. But because she had health issues, her death wasn't considered suspicious and there was no post-mortems. In 2008, neighbor Bava would recall hearing the sound of someone being violently ill next door. He said that Jolly Joseph had called him and calmly told him that Roy Thomas's 66-year-old father, Tom Thomas, wasn't well. When Bava got there, he said he found Tom Thomas lying flat on his back, foaming at the mouth. Bava immediately rushed him to the hospital, where doctors declared him dead from a heart attack. According to the neighbor Bava, Roy Thomas and Joseph inherited the property in Tom Thomas's will. Police investigations found that by the time of the elder Thomas's death, all his assets had been transferred to Jolly Joseph. Just 3 years later, 40-year-old Roy Thomas, Jolly Joseph's husband, was found dead. Again, Jolly Joseph had called Baba, their neighbor, who also said he found the man lying on the bathroom floor, foaming from the mouth. This time, Roy Thomas's uncle, Matthew Manjadiyil, insisted that Jolly Joseph's husband needed a post-mortem and took him to the hospital. The post-mortem found that Roy Thomas had died after consuming cyanide, a chemical commonly used in mining and jewelry making which can be fatal in high doses. Police ruled it a suicide and didn't investigate further. But again, Jolly Joseph told others that it was a heart attack that Roy Thomas had died from. Soon after, Jolly Joseph grew distant from the community, but the neighbors didn't worry about it too much, as after all she had lost family members and was now a widow as well. More deaths soon followed in the house. In 2014, Roy Thomas's 67-year-old uncle Manjadiyil died in Joseph's presence, another heart attack. That same year, Alfin, the 2-year-old daughter of Roy Thomas's cousin Saju Sakarias, died after allegedly choking on food at a christening ceremony. Then again, in 2016, Sakarias' 43-year-old wife Silly died too. In 2017, just a year after Silly Sakaria's death, Jolly Joseph remarried. Her new husband was none other than Silly Sakaria's widower, Saju Sakarias. By the time she remarried, people close to Jolly Joseph had begun to suspect something was wrong. After the death of Joseph's first husband in 2011, Bava said he saw a new version of Tom Thomas's will, which said that the family home should be transferred to Jolly Joseph. Suspicious about the changed will, Roy Thomas's brother, Rojo Thomas, began to look into the people who had witnessed it. Rojo Thomas told Baba, the neighbor, that in the course of his investigations, he found out that Jolly Joseph didn't really work at NIT as she had claimed. The whole family attacked him. They were not ready to believe Rojo, said Baba, the neighbor. Such was the cloud and image that Jolly had in the family. They all thought that Rojo Thomas was saying this because he had an eye on the house and property. However, by 2017, neighbor Bava had his doubts too. Rojo requested a copy of the post-mortem conducted on Roy Thomas and found a discrepancy in Jolly Joseph's story, according to Bava. Jolly Joseph had told Baba that she was making her husband an omelette for dinner when he suddenly ran to the bathroom and collapsed. But according to the post-mortem which Rojo Thomas shared with Baba, Roy Thomas had eaten a dinner of rice and chickpea curry the night he died. When Rojo Thomas confronted Jolly Joseph about the inconsistencies, she stuck to her original story, and the men became even more suspicious. So Baba, Rojo Thomas, and Rojo's sisters Ranjit Thomas began looking closely at all of the deaths themselves. In each case, they found that Jolly Joseph's presence was a common link. Soon, they complained to the crime unit of the Kozhikode police, and this time police agreed that there was a potential criminal case. Soon, police began to investigate and found holes in Jolly Joseph's stories as well. Like Rojo Thomas, police discovered Jolly Joseph wasn't really a professor at the NIT University as she had claimed. Though she had an identity card from the university, police found that she had faked her role as a professor to earn people's respect. The registrar lieutenant at NIT confirmed that Joseph had never worked there, although police investigations found that she sometimes came to the campus and bought tea in the canteen. They thought it odd that she told people Roy Thomas had died of a heart attack when she knew the cause of death was suicide by cyanide. Although authorities said they found about 50 discrepancies between her statements to police and other evidence, there had been no post-mortem done after any of the deaths besides Roy Thomas. So police had no choice but to order the bodies to be exhumed and tested. After 2 months of analyzing the evidence, Indian police were ready to go public. On October 5th, press conference crammed with Indian press, Kozhikode District Police Superintendent K.G. Simon announced a major development. Joseph had indeed confessed to murdering all 6 family members, adding that she had poisoned them with cyanide to gain control over the family's assets and then marry the man she had had an eye on. Police say Joseph had poisoned her in-laws to get hold of the house, and as her marriage to Roy Thomas worsened, Joseph killed him too. She then allegedly killed her husband's uncle, Manjadiyil, who had been most adamant that Roy Thomas needed to have a post-mortem, by mixing poison into an alcoholic drink when he came to visit her. She allegedly killed Silly Zacharias and her daughter Alfin by poisoning their water and food to get closer to Saju Zacharias. Jolly told many people she wished for a husband like Saju. According to police documents, Joseph had been arrested for the alleged murder of Manjadiyil Alfint and her father-in-law Tom Thomas. Jolly Joseph remains behind bars as police continue their investigations. Under Indian law, suspects of serious crimes such as murder can be held up to 90 days as part of the investigation process. She has not yet been charged, but police said they are continuing investigations and will go to trial once a consolidated charge sheet is filed. If Joseph is charged and convicted, she could face life in prison or even death.